Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and I was always told how to voice radio, so today we're going to be looking at Salamence GX. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we have already had a look at Articuno GX. Now we're looking at Salamence GX, and there's another card I need to do today as well. It is going to be a free video day. It's Good Friday, which means I'm not at work, but my wife is. So if any, day was going to be the time to do a free video day, it would be today. But that's not the point, ladies and gentlemen. Please do check out all three of the videos today. Make it worthwhile spending pretty much my entire day off making videos. So, Salamence GX, just like we said in a video a couple of weeks ago, it is pretty much based on the Salamence EX from Deoxys, and it is very, very similar. Our translation, just like for Articuno, comes from the lovely Autobot Tesla over on Twitter. So let's start off by looking at the basics. 250 HP, is about what we would expect for a big Stage 2 GX. Think something like Metagross, or better yet, my boy Incineroar, who I've now managed to get reference to in 2 videos in a row. Boom. Retreat cost of 2 is the worst in the game. Weakness to Fairy could be a little bit of an issue because it means Gardevoir will have an absolute field day, and Gardevoir has not gone away yet. Even Sylveon GX, although it would have to have a choice band, would get a one-hit KO here. So, not the best weakness ever at the moment, unfortunately. And of course, being a dragon Pokemon means you are hitting absolutely nothing for weakness, which kind of sucks. The good news is dragon Pokemon at the moment just have a whole bunch of tricks, mostly because of Dragonstorm, which weirdly enough, this isn't from Dragonstorm, this is from Champion Road. But we've got a whole bunch of tricks here. We've got Devoured Field, which allows you to do an extra 10 damage. We've got Lance Prism Star. Now, it's only a once per game thing, but if you had a Pokemon KO'd the previous turn, you can search your deck for 2 dragon Pokemon, put them straight onto your bench, whether they were a basic or not. And then you've got Zinnia, for instance, which will allow you, if you had a Pokemon KO'd the previous turn, to attach 2 basic energy from your hand to your dragon Pokemon. And I suppose we should also mention the Altaria from this set that allows your dragon Pokemon to do an extra 20 damage. So, it's a Stage 2, it's awkward to get out. Is it any good? The ability straight away is very, very good. It gives free retreat to all of your EX and GX Pokemon. This alone is an incredibly good ability. Think of something like Silvally GX. Silvally GX has a great ability that gives all of your basic Pokemon free retreat. It means you can play around with stuff like Solgaleo Prism Star a lot more easily than you would usually be able to. Thing is, Silvally's a Stage 1 with a really good general attack and a really good GX attack, which can hit for multiple different weaknesses thanks to cards like Fighting Memory and Psychic Memory. That's not necessarily the case here, which kind of puts a dampener on things. The ability here is great. Giving free retreat to all of your EXs and GXs is wonderful, but I do worry that it's not enough to play the card for on its own. We'll look at the attacks in a moment. But it does mean that if you play something like Tapu Lele GX, and let's face it, you're going to be playing Tapu Lele GX, you get free retreat, which means your opponent cannot bring it into the active with a Guzma and force you to use an energy to get it out of the active. It means that if you're playing Dragonite GX, and there is a very good chance you will be, because Dragonite GX, probably the best dragon Pokemon we've got at the moment, or will have by the time it comes out, it's a GX, which means it will have free retreat. And it's usually got a retreat cost of 3, but it's got a really good attack, 70 for 1 energy, so you might want to do that for a couple of turns and then retreat it. Salamence will allow you to do so. And while we're talking about Dragonite here, I should mention the GX attack, which allows you to put 3 dragon Pokemon from your discard onto your bench, and again, they don't have to be basic, so you can even just play 1 Salamence and not play it as a Stage 2. Put it straight onto your bench using either Lance Prism Star or Dragonite, either would be fine, and then you've got free retreat for most of your Pokemon, any EXs and GXs, for the rest of the game. If you're playing a Dragonite deck, I think Salamence going in there for free retreat is going to work, because like I've said, You might not play a stage 2 just for this ability, but when you can use either Lance Prism Star or Dragonite's GX attack, all of a sudden it's a gosh darn sight more reasonable. So it may well see play just for the ability because we've got these cheating ways of getting it onto the field. And the ability is great, although as I've said, I don't think anyone's going to evolve up a stage 2 manually just for the ability. But what do the attacks do? Well, they're expensive, but they're good. Well, one of them's good. Water, fire, 2 colorless energy, 200 damage, discard 2 energy attached to this Pokemon. Now, couple things to mention here. Firstly, you can use double colorless energy to pay the attack cost here. And secondly, like we've done with Alolan Ninetales, you can here attach a double colorless energy, attack, discard that, and then next turn attach double colorless, discard it, etc. You can always just be discarding the double colorless energy. And it does mean that you will have fewer energy on you at the end of the turn, meaning stuff like Gardevoir will have a slightly more difficult time getting a one-hit KO on you. That alone is pretty gosh darn nice. And 200 damage is a lot of damage. It's pretty much enough for anything. 200 straight away is easily going to KO stuff like Buzzwole or the aforementioned Sylveon. That's quite nice. You add a choice band here, you're up to 230, and stuff like Gardevoir go down in one hit. And then if you add a Devoured Field, you're up to 240, and you're getting stuff like Decidueye. Or if instead you were to play a single Altaria or a Professor Kukui, then you would be hitting 250, and that's enough to KO anything at the moment. Even these giant HP Pokemon like Incineroar will go down in a single hit. It is a very powerful attack. But we've already got Dragonite that does 200 for 4 energy, and potentially has an easier time of it because it can play stuff like Magnezone. So I'm not 100% convinced we need this attack because you've got Dragonite here. And accelerating either fire or water energy isn't that easy. Now, obviously, if you want to go the slow way, you could always use Volcanion here and just use Power Heater. You could always use Kiawe here, but of course you would still need a water energy on there as well. In Expanded, you could use either Emboar to get the fire energy on, or you could use Blastoise to get the water energy on. So you'd use Blastoise with a couple of fire energy or Emboar with a couple of water energy. But it just seems like it's getting a little bit awkward to get the energy on there. You can use double colorless, which is nice. And in Expanded, you can use double dragon energy. But I don't like this as an attacker because I just don't see how it's better than Dragonite. Dragonite has a good attack for a single energy, which Salamence doesn't. And Dragonite potentially has stuff like Magnezone in Standard that you could use. It's not a bad attack and it does a huge amount of damage. And if you can get the energy on there, and that's going to be the big challenge, you do a huge amount of damage and it's great. I just prefer Dragonite here. As for the GX attack, 1 fire, 2 colorless energy. This does 120 to any of your opponent's Pokemon. Well, 120 for free energy when you're not hitting weakness isn't great. So let's just assume you're hitting the bench here. It's fine. I mean, if we were in a format where Shaymin was still running rampant, and then you could do 120 to the bench to get a one-hit KO on Shaymin, yes, I am all in favour of this. But we're not, ladies and gentlemen. You can, I don't know, KO something like a benched Octillery. But the fact of the matter is, there's still a whole bunch of Pokemon with 130 HP like Greninja, so you can't even KO them on the bench. I just don't love this GX attack. I mean, sure, there's going to be turns where you hit a Pokemon and your opponent retreats and they've got a 2-prize Pokemon sitting on the bench with 100 HP remaining. Well, then, yes, you can use this. But honestly, I just don't think you're going to be using this very often at all. And let's face it, if you're using Dragon decks at the moment, Dragonite's GX attack is going to be better a lot because you can get free Dragon Pokemon from your discard onto your bench like Salamence, like a Dragonite. I'm just not loving this. I do adore the ability. The ability is just great. Floatstone has been great since it came out. Free Retreat is amazing. Having Free Retreat on all your EXs and GXs is great. And there's even a chance you might see some EX and GX heavy decks here, just playing one copy of Salamence and one copy of Lance Prism Star, so that when your opponent takes a KO, you can grab your Lance, get a Salamence straight onto the bench using your supporter for the turn, and then get free retreat for all your EXs and GXs. I could see that happening. This is a great ability. But the attack has a stupid cost, like we find with Dragon Pokemon, and I mentioned Zinnia earlier, and you can use Zinnia, it's still got a stupid cost. And frankly, it's not as good as Dragonite as far as I'm concerned. And I just don't like the GX attack. All I really like about Salamence is the ability. But I love the ability on Salamence here, and I really don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that we see people teching in one Lance Prism Star and one Salamence to give free retreat to all of our Pokemon. If we're all willing to play 2 to 4 Floatstone, this is a 2-card combo that would give free retreat for the whole game to all EXs and GXs. I love this, but only for the ability, and I'm giving it 4 Wassies because I think it's going to see play in a bunch of decks, but only for the ability. And certainly in any Dragon deck where you're playing Dragonite and Lance, this is an easy one-off just to chuck on the bench either with Dragonite or Lance. Unfortunately, at this stage, ladies and gentlemen, I do need to issue a quick correction. It actually gives free retreats to all of your non-EX, non-GX Pokemon. We all make mistakes, and unfortunately, my source on this one made a mistake. It happens. When you do analyses of cards as soon as they're revealed, as I do, sometimes there will be mistranslations. It's happened before, and I know what you're thinking. But what about this? No. I have used every website I can find, and they've all made mistakes here and there. None of us are perfect. I don't have time to redo the entire video from scratch, but what I'll tell you is this. All of my analysis of this card remains exactly the same. It's still a great ability. And to be perfectly honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, it's still going to see play in all the ways I've said. It's still a 4-Wossie card. It's still going to see play as a tech to give Pokemon free retreat, but instead of giving free retreat to EXs and GXs like Tapu Lele and Dragonite, it's going to give free retreat to non-EXs, non-GXs like Octillery and Altaria. But either way, ladies and gentlemen, it's still a good card, and the analysis totally holds up. I've just added this bit on the end of this video to issue a quick correction, but I'm afraid with life as it is, I'm in the middle of doing another video, a 3rd video today. I can't go back and do this one from scratch. Plus, the analysis totally holds up, and my opinion of the card remains the same, so I don't need to do a new video from scratch. But as always, ladies and gentlemen, if you disagree with me, or if you disagree with me, there is a comment section. Might I please encourage you to go nuts? But be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wossie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. Do check out patreon.com/PTCGRadio if you want to support the channel, and go to Wossie Plays for some Dragon Ball Super and video game action. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.